Did Anthony Blinken just come out and tell the world that Ukraine is basically about to be a dictatorship? During this press conference, he said that the US government was working with civil society groups in the Ukrainian government to shore up Ukraine's electoral infrastructure. And once the United States determines that Ukrainians have met all the necessary conditions, then they'll be allowed to exercise their right to vote. Now he says that this is part of an effort to bolster the defenses of Ukraine by providing things like a free press, a vibrant, inclusive society, free and fair elections, independent, empowered anti-corruption investigators. Oh my God, does this sound really ironic to anybody else? If it doesn't sound ironic, it should, considering the 2014 Maidan coup was facilitated by the United States to overthrow the Ukrainian government's previous free and fair elections. And then in 2022, after the war between Russia and Ukraine started, Zelensky announced a ban on opposition parties and a total of 11 Ukrainian political parties solely because they supposedly had ties with Russia. But truthfully, it was because these parties were actually leftist and independent-leaning parties. And not only do they not have free press in Ukraine, but they literally put journalists who try to objectively cover what's happening in Ukraine on a kill list. That's not hyperbole. It's a list of journalists they want to kill. And as far as a fair judicial system is concerned, maybe we shouldn't have allowed the current president to fire the prosecutor that was trying to hold the corruption accountable that was taking place in Ukraine. And maybe they would have, a justice system that's a little bit more fair and even-handed to root out that corruption that the U.S. is supposedly trying to root out at the moment.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
But I get it. I can understand why the United States wouldn't want them to hold elections in Ukraine because, I don't know, watching generations of your own people die only so that NATO can have some type of strategic advantage over Russia might push you to vote for somebody who isn't leading your people into a meat grinder. I don't know. And it might be a little bit more difficult to manipulate that person than Zelensky, who has a little person complex and expensive taste.
Robert Fico, the Prime Minister of Slovakia, who's been a very open critic of the West war in Ukraine, have been shot. Robert Fico was meeting with supporters when a gunman hiding in the crowd shot him in the head and in the chest. Robert Fico is currently in critical condition, and we will know his fate maybe a few hours after I finish this video. This is very significant and interesting because Slovakia is one of the few NATO nations that are not completely subservient to the United States. Robert Fico said that we can pour all the money and all the weapons in the world in Ukraine and we will not defeat Russia. So we need to consider peace options and negotiation. Apparently, Robert Fico simply advocating for peace in Ukraine was enough for Western media to paint him as some sort of Putin puppet.
But he's become very pro-Russian over the years, and one wonders why and how, but maybe that's his conviction. They dig their toes in against aid to Ukraine and against any sort of sympathy with Kiev. And they keep saying, look, we want the war to finish. And by that, they mean they want the Russians to succeed, and then the war will be over if Ukraine would just surrender and give up territory. And so that's the view he takes. Now, that's very divisive in Slovakia. It's divisive within the EU. So it's not surprising that this sort of event might take place.
Maybe if you guys listen to Robert Fico, there would be less dead Ukrainians, and NATO and the West would be in a better negotiation position with Russia. We also had Robert Fico, who was a vocal critic of the WHO pandemic treaty and refused to sign it. So the leader who wanted normalized relations with Russia, who criticized NATO proxy war in Ukraine, who criticized the WHO's pandemic policies, was also a victim of a brutal assassination attempt. How convenient for the West.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died. Did it have anything to do with your visit? No. Oh, I'm sure it did.
What's poppin'? What's poppin', my friends, my family? We are back again. Bro, Thursday is always a special day at RBN because not only do we got this banger today with my good friend Lee Camp, we got Savvy and JB going live later today. New start time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Banger after banger on a Thursday. And I had to show the hotspot that my hotspot brother Nico put out as well. You guys know Nico joined us on the first episode of the New Era with my friend Misty Winston. You guys know we stay in community with that smart brother. Not only that, bro, I tell you, we got so much planned in this new era that we're so excited about. We even changed the art direction. You guys noticed that. We got James, the famous TikTok guy. What is his last name again? Let me look in the calendar. So we got James Reedwald. I heard nothing but good things about him. He joined us on Friday. And you guys know I was in the lab cooking, bro. I didn't go live yesterday, but you know I'm still in the lab. Especially if you follow me on X, bro. Banger after banger. You got community notes mad because I called out how Fico was critical of the Ukraine war, and you have community notes on X lying and spreading fake news under my account right now. Here's the fate of the guy. We're gonna get to that here very soon because, bro, the plot has thickened significantly since I did that hotspot, my friends. Good luck. Thank God Fico's in serious but stable condition. And that's why now you got the Western media that has permission to start smearing this guy. So you have let me pull up the community notes they put on my banger here that I put up here. Look, bro, this video. Oh, wait, is it gone? Hold up, bro. Hold up. Is that another L that community notes took? Hold up. Is it really gone? Bro, let's go. Let's go.
He died.
Oh. 4-0 against community notes, my friend. Is it really gone? I need someone in the chat to confirm this with me because I had a whole little fucking bit about this. Where community notes because this video got 84,000 views on Twitter X. And then they send a NAFO army after me because it's like, man, this boy over here cooking. Bro, I just now realized that, bro, I'm getting this live right now, my friends. Let's go. I am now 4-0 against community notes, my friend. You realize that? Every single time these motherfuckers trying to test me. I told you guys I got the receipts, my friends. What a W. So, you know, we got to celebrate our W, especially in these times. I did not realize that. Let me know if you follow me on X. Look, check it as well. I don't see the damn community note. Because you guys see, I was like, all right, bro. The way I handle this is if you want to put a community note on me, I'm cool because I don't rely on ad revenue on Twitter. So I'm like, all right, if you want to fact check me, I'm going to fact check the fact checker. So what community note said, and I'm glad they removed it, they said they community noted me because they said Robert Fico was they're like, actually, you're wrong. Robert Fico condemned Russia. And I'm like, bro, you understand I have receipts, right? I am not Nick Fuentes. I'm not one of these people who just fucking put shit out there for likes and clicks. I can prove what I say, my friend. I said in my video that Robert Fico was critical of the Ukraine war, and that's exactly what he was. And you guys gonna see how the media was smearing him. I guess I don't have to get into the community notes segment because, bro, I was about to destroy them. They knew it. Cause look, I was like, bro, I don't even care if you remove it. Cause I'm like, bro, look, community notes is fake news. Now we see why community notes was so desperate to lie. And I was like, bro, community notes, just take the L already. Because in my video, I didn't say that he killed Robert Fico because of his position on Ukraine. I just say, hell, yo, this is very just like always, all these assassinations, they're always perfect for the West, always very convenient for the West. I just mentioned that. He also opposed the WHO pandemic treaty, refused to sign it. was very outspoken against the vaccines. These are the few things. I'm not pretending that I'm a Slovakia expert, my friends, but I knew of Robert Fico because of these things. I knew of Robert Fico because I seen the Western media smear this man. You had CNN, I'm gonna show you guys the clip where CNN essentially like, man, this motherfucker, yeah, it kind of fucked up that this happened, but he kind of deserved it, if we're gonna be real with you. Like, what? Bro, what a W. I was preparing for a whole, I was about to tear these motherfuckers apart. They actually took the communion off. I guess I taught them something because they was like, wait, I thought Robert Fico was anti-Russia. No, my friends, there's a reason why. And we've seen that Ukraine is very open to the idea of using political assassination as a tool. So I skipped the community note part because we see we got the W. Leave the W in the chat. What's popping, my friends? Damn, I'm already getting behind on the chat. What's popping, Didi? I'm gonna read a few, maybe. Nick, pop your column, my brother. No, I'm not bullshitting you guys. I am 4-0 against community notes. Every single time community notes go after me, I drag them, and then they are forced to remove it every single time. I told you guys, when do I ever tell you guys a lie? When do I ever leave you guys astray? We defend community notes out here. Anyway, let's move on. Man, that's fucking hilarious, man. I gotta now change my the order in which I'm doing this. So first I'm gonna show you guys, like I already did, like some things that Robert Fico said that pissed off the West. Slovakia would veto Ukrainian membership in NATO. After that, I was like, man, bro, I don't know what I said jokingly that they're like, man, they about to kill this motherfucker, bro. You never underestimate the kind of criminal thugs that we have in our government. Now let me read some other things that he said. Ukraine must give up territory to end the Russian invasion. He expects Russia to dictate terms for peace in Ukraine. He said, we can pour all the weapons of the world, all the money there into Ukraine, and Russia will never be defeated militarily. It is the turn of 2023 and 2024, and you will see that Russia will begin to dictate the terms for resolving this conflict. This boy Robert Fico is spitting right now, saying what Bernie Sanders and the entirety of the West, the left in the West is afraid to say. Why should say the NATO left? Absolutely not the left. I gotta be clear on my language. Absolutely not the left. I jokingly call them the NATO left because they think they're on the left and they support NATO. That's why I come up with that funny name, NATO left. It's an oxymoron on purpose. And this is, you guys seen, bro, Sarah is a fucking, bro, she brought the fire on Tuesday. What's popping? Oh shit, we got Jay. What's popping, bro?
I just wanted to put in a little notation. I still saw community notes on the RBN side, but I did not see community notes on my side. So I don't know what's going on with X, but it's acting kind of weird. So
yeah, once again, it's all good. We already exposed these motherfuckers anyway. We'll get confirmed. Let me know. I already see some. It's kind of confusing what's going on right now. But thank you, JB, my brother. You guys know Sabby and JB show is coming. Is returned. It's gonna come back stronger than ever. We got so much stuff going on. Our boy JB helped me produce. We got Rumble up and running. Bro, I tell you, this new era is a banger. Sarah brought it, bro. That's the first time me and Sarah had a conversation. We immediately click. Anyone who immediately anti-imperialist, bro, someone who understands class struggle, bro, immediately be cool with. This is according to them and her organization. Fico not out of danger. Shooter motivated by cessation of aid to Ukraine, among other reasons. And that's one of the reasons why the community note, which they try to community note me because they were like, oh, you trying to tie the fact that he's anti-Ukraine with the fact that he was assassinated? You know, that's how they were trying to get me. I was like, bro, I never said that for one. I just want to put this out there. And my instincts proved to be right. Because we are seeing this information come out that's continuing to vindicate RBN once again. So community notes, bro, you better chill, bro. I mean, nothing I can do to him. Only thing I can do is have fun. Use it to boost visibility of my tweets, I guess. But as you see here, the detainee cited, among other things, the cessation of arms supply to Ukraine as the reason for the attack. And are you guys with a straight face about to tell me that the West has nothing to do with this? Let me pose as a question. Does this seem like something that is uncharacteristic of the CIA in Ukraine, when Ukraine and their officials has openly said that going after officials who jeopardize their war effort is on the table? They are supportive of assassination as a means to an end. So when you look at the modus operandi, when you look at the people who engage in this kind of activity, it 100% lines up with the West in Ukraine, does it not? Once again, I'm not saying anything. I'm just telling you guys how you critically think. This is critical thinking skills. Who engage in this kind of activity? Who has the motives? When you're in law, what do you use? You use the motives. This is the formula of critical thinking that a lot of people forgot about. The CIA would never. Yeah, that's something they don't do, apparently. And the Kasparian and TYT is seething. How dare you imply the CIA actually do stuff? Yeah, we know they got 20,000 employees on the books, let alone off the books. But what do you think they actually do? They just twiddling their thumbs. That's the messaging of TYT and Anna Kasparian, my friends. Slavic poet Juraj Kentula, a supporter of the Liberal Progressive Slovakia Party, explains he attempted to assassinate Prime Minister Robert Fico because he does not agree with the policies of the government. It's not in English, so no point in playing it. But that's what he said. How convenient, I'm going to say this, how convenient for the West, as I said in the video. Man, I still looking, I need to look at my timeline. They really take the note off? That's hilarious. Good for them. Good for them for doing it, but I'm going to have fun. And I saw this as I was preparing to go live. This is from our brothers and sisters at Hotspot, where he predicted his own assassination attempt. Like, bro, what? They describe ruling coalition voters as misguided scum. I am waiting for this frustration to translate into the murder of a leading government official. There's not subtitles on it, so I'll let it play.
Progresívneho Slovenska si po prehratej prezidentskej sobote dávali Lexaurín a objímali sa so svojimi psíkmi a mačičkami, aby prekonali hrôzu demokratického víťazstva kandidáta vládnej koalície Petra Pellegriniho. Voličov vládnej koalície označujú za poblúdených, za lúzu, ktoré treba zakázať voliť. Vraj sa hambia za susedov, ktorých označujú za rurálnu rustikálnu.
My bad. I should have removed the super chat while this guy was talking. Fuck, my bad.
Poblúdených, za lúzu, ktoré treba zakázať voliť. Vraj sa hambia za susedov, ktorých označujú za rurálno rustikálnych. Jednoducho, všetci okrem nich sú po slovensky povedané primitívni debili. Po uliciach oplzlo nadávajú vládnym politikom. A ja už len čakám, kedy sa táto frustrácia, tak intenzívne prehlbovaná denníkom N, Smečkom či aktualitami, pretaví do vraždy niektorého z popredných vládnych politikov. A to nepreháňam ani milimeter. Tieto a ďalšie médiá doslova nabádajú progresívneho voliča, aby bol hulvácky a agresívny. Osoby z verejného života podporujúce Petra Pellegriniho, ako napríklad pána Vega či Rytmusa, verejne popravujú na výstrahu. A len preto, lebo si dovolia mať iný názor. Len preto, aby sa po prehre v parlamentných a prezidentských voľbách pre Boha neobjavila tretia prehra, aby každý s vlastným názorom vedel, čo ho čaká, ak nebude voliť, ako si želá.
So I'm going to show you guys this for a second time. I got another clip from Boris Johnson I'm going to show you guys. And you guys seen the messaging from Robert Fico regarding the Ukraine war. The West should have listened to him. And since he was willing to veto Ukraine membership. He stopped sending weapons to Ukraine. That is what put him on the list of the CIA would train an extremist, someone who's already frustrated, because we understand that governments fuck up. There will naturally be a segment of the population, often very extreme, that's against the government. And then what the CIA does, they cultivate the extreme segments, often a lot of class traders as well during the Cold War, to then prop them up, give them weapons, give them a plan, and they assassinate them. I mean, if you just study history, this is not nothing new. You guys see already how the Western media, now that he's not dead, is seething, calling Fico a known Kremlin sympathizer. No, he's not. Like, once again, in the beginning of the Ukraine war, he condemned Putin for the invasion. These are stuff that our media lied by omission. He condemned Putin in Russia. His position was, no matter how much weapons and how much support we send to Ukraine, Russia is going to win. It is a national security threat not to negotiate with Russia, not to have good relationship with Russia. How is that how does that make you a Kremlin sympathizer for advocating for peace? Have you guys seen how absolutely insane the West has become? Now we're gonna have Lee Camp join us here at the top of the hour. I want to get to this video with Boris Johnson as well, because I'm gonna show you guys such the contrast that we see, because Robert Fico and all the leaders who speak common sense on Ukraine, they are deemed Putin sympathizers. They are smeared as authoritarian. And as they smear, and once again, I'm not an expert on Slovakian domestic policy. But before you call him an authoritarian, before you call Putin an authoritarian, you got to explain to me why you're sending police officers to brutally arrest and assault people who are protesting your genocide, sir and ma'am, before you call other people authoritarian. You need to explain to me why you imprison 1/4 of the world's prison population before you call another person authoritarian. So they call people authoritarian for being against their wars. You see how absurd the West is? You are an authoritarian dictator if you're simply against Western, the West, the UK, and Israel dictating your policy. So let's continue. Let's watch this video. I'm gonna show you guys Boris Johnson, who they bring on CNN as if he shouldn't be completely discredited and imprisoned for what he has done. He is responsible for the death of around 1 million Ukrainians. That's what I heard from Scott Ritter when they was like, bro, the death count, we looking near 1 million at this point. And that's because of Boris Johnson, who killed peace negotiations.
Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson. Prime Minister Johnson, you've been to Ukraine 3 times. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. You've been to Ukraine 3 times since leaving office. What is your assessment of this renewed Russian offensive? And do you think this new flow of military aid will be enough for Ukraine to push back?
Why would anyone bring on Boris Johnson without the main question, the follow-up question, and then the follow-up question after that being about the fact that you tank a peace deal, which would have led Ukraine in a stronger position where they are right now? Putin, after all the trespasses, after everything the West has done, said our negotiation is over. Like, bro, we dictating what the fuck's going on, and that wouldn't be the case if Boris Johnson took that peace deal. So why is that not question number 1, 2, and 3? Instead, you take this guy who has no credibility on this issue, as far as I'm concerned, should be rotting in prison, and you ask him about his situation in Ukraine. This is why I said we are the most propagandized country. This segment is absurd at face value, and it gets worse when you actually hear what Boris Johnson actually says.
Well, this was inevitable, and yes, I'm confident that the Ukrainians now have the money flowing through to enable them to push back very well. They've got to have permission, of course, to be able to attack the Russian forces as they mass within Russia itself. And I was very interested to hear what Secretary Blinken said about that. I should say, by the way, how grateful I am as a supporter of Ukraine to America for the $61 billion. It will make a huge difference, as your show has rightly been.
The warmongers are laughing at us, my friends. Every time you see these Zelensky people saying this, Boris Johnson saying this, just know they are laughing at us. Thank you, Americans, for bankrupting yourself so we can get rich, get our donors rich for our never-ending war scheme.
I am, as a supporter of Ukraine, to America for the $61 billion. It will make a huge difference, as your show has rightly been saying. Unfortunately, it hasn't been able to make a big difference yet, but I've no doubt that it will. In the meantime, we were just discussing on your show.
You're muted. You're muted.
My bad. Thank you, JB. I had to stop it there because Boris Johnson, he literally gives up the game there. I apologize for the mute there, but he said, "Yeah, I know we gave all this money to Ukraine, but it hasn't really done anything yet. But I'm sure that we continue to fund them, the war will change." I need you guys to answer the question that even someone like Vivek Ramaswamy posed. How can another few hundred billion dollars, how does that change? How does that affect the war when the first few $100 billion did not? How will giving Ukraine another $100 billion change the war? They don't have an answer. It's a money laundering scheme. Sorry, anyway, let me continue.
What can be done to help the Ukrainians more urgently? Put the pressure on Putin with the $330 billion worth of Russian assets that are frozen outside Russia. Expropriate that, give that to the Ukrainians. That would definitely put pressure on Putin right now, make him think twice about continuing his vicious attacks. And the other thing I'd say is do something about Crimea, give the Ukrainians more stuff with which to imperil Putin's positions in Crimea. That's what needs to happen.
As a conservative, how frustrating was it for you to watch the conservatives here in the United States in the Congress delay this delivery of this aid and in some cases completely oppose it?
Well, the conservatives were a broad church, and I understand people's feelings about, America has always had a strain of isolationism, but I would just say to all my fellow conservatives in the US, look, don't forget that for a tiny proportion of the annual US defense budget, supporting the Ukrainians in their fight against a completely illegal, criminal, cruel invasion, you are helping them to stabilize and pacify the whole Euro-Atlantic area. Because if Putin wins in Ukraine, believe me, he'll come again for the Baltic states, for Georgia, for all the areas around the old Soviet Union that he wants to rebuild. So
This is an absolutely unhinged lie that the establishment keeps repeating over and over again, when Putin and Russian officials say, no, this is about stopping NATO advancement, demilitarizing Ukraine, ending the political dominance of the Azov Banderite neo-Nazi ideology in Ukraine. But they completely make this scenario up where Russia is going to invade and take over Europe and they don't stop them. You guys see how they stopped with the moral BS? He tried to sprinkle a little bit on it. Because you have the genocide in Gaza that all these people support. Because at first it said we need to send all this money to Ukraine because we got to oppose war crimes. We got to oppose illegal wars. It went from that to, oh, we got to stop Putin because we don't stop Putin, we're going to invade Europe. Now, how does that even make sense? They said if we send only a few $100 billion to Ukraine, somehow Russia will lose. That same weak Russian military that will lose because of a measly few $100 billion is also strong enough to take over the entirety of Europe. Do you guys understand how these things don't make sense? What's poppin', Lee? I see you in the background. Give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready. We just spitball in the beginning. Let's introduce our powerful guest. I think we heard enough of Boris Johnson here. We have an amazing journalist, anti-imperialist journalist, doing great independent reporting. I've always been a big supporter of Lee Camp. Great to have you back on Revolutionary Blackout, my friend.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get your opinion on this in general, because Boris Johnson, the West, continue to fund Ukraine, because we got so much to talk about in a very short amount of time. I want to get your general thoughts on this, because you have Mike Johnson and the Republican Party teaming up with the Uniparty to fund all these weapons to Ukraine, even though they have no strategy to win. And I just want to get your general thoughts on the West strategy and why people are still falling for this as we get started.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry I missed your segment, but I see that it's about Boris Johnson, and maybe you already mentioned these things, so I'm sorry to repeat them if you have. But just what was it, 2 weeks ago, maybe Boris Johnson wrote that article where, even though he's saying, "Oh, we have to send more money to Ukraine. Why aren't we sending more money and missiles to Ukraine?" Within the article, he says he admits that it's a fight for Western hegemony. He says that if Ukraine falls, then Western hegemony falls. And this is something that the ruling elite have been denying for over 2 years now, that this is a fight about Western hegemony. They acted like this is a fight about Russia just wildly decided to invade Ukraine, etc. And all of a sudden they're admitting this massive thing that they acted like wasn't happening. Oh no, it's not about Western hegemony. It's just about Russia. It's just about Putin being nuts. And all of a sudden you have Boris Johnson and others saying, actually, it's about Western hegemony.
They're so shameless in how they change their talking about. That's a great point. And I was mentioning earlier, you have the hypocrisy, the doublespeak, where they talk about Russia is extremely weak. They do these stories about how the Russian military was exposed, how Putin was incompetent, how Putin miscalculated. But at the same time, if we don't send one more aid package, he would be this much closer to taking over Europe. You guys see how they say things that generally don't make any sense?
Yeah, they want it both ways. They want it to be Russia's so weak, they're going to fall any minute, and Russia's so strong, they're going to take over Europe. Yeah, they absolutely are trying to get it both ways, because it's all a lie. They knew Russia was too powerful from the beginning to lose to Ukraine, but they were hoping that this would, really two things, that this would weaken Russia by just dwindling the resources, which is one of the main reasons they stay in Ukraine right now. And the other big thing was they were hoping that the sanctions would be really crushing to Russia. And they got some of what they wanted, the Western ruling elite, parasitic, vampiric douchebags. They got some of what they wanted, in that Russia has been separated from Europe, the economically and energy, and the Nord Stream blown up. So they did get some of what they wanted, but most of the sanctions have backfired. Russia seems largely stronger than it had before, and has gone running into the arms of China, which from a U.S. imperial standpoint is a terrible thing. But, I don't think the U.S. should own the world. So it seems like a good thing to have multiple powers in the world rather than just the U.S., which has proven completely incapable of ruling the world and not murdering millions of people in the process.
You don't believe the United States should have their hands in their palms on global affairs around the world? That idea is the idea that blew the mind of Piers Morgan recently. Like, you guys see the ideology these people have. They're like, what do you mean the United States shouldn't be in Ukraine? Because that shit thousands of miles away. What do you mean? Why do we even have to explain this to people? But I want to pivot, because you have another great video that we're going to get into here later about the genocide in Gaza, which I've been covering extensively. And I give you a lot of credit, because this has been an issue that I've been very passionate about. Like, this was always my red line. People was always confused, because RBN canceling Fetterman, this person over Israel. No, this has always been a red line. I give you credit, because you was one of the original, most censored, canceled people, because of the Israel-Palestine issue that you covered. And now we are seeing this issue almost reach an end game. And you have a great video, and we're going to play a little bit of that here soon, about the companies and how capital fund these genocidal campaigns, especially the campaigns of Zionists. But I want to get your thoughts on this, because I saw this, and I think this is extremely interesting. We are seeing more and more countries join the ICJ and the ICC, and we are seeing almost international law on trial as much as Israel in a way. And I'm gonna read this tweet from Stephen Dosniger, and I want you to get your reaction. In a setback for Israel, the World Court has scheduled an emergency hearing for tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern to decide whether the country's military attack on Rafah violates orders that it prevents genocide. This is very significant. So before we get into the company video, I want to get your thoughts on this. I do think this is a very significant development, and international law is being tested in a way we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. This is saying something very significant about international law, about the World Court, about the UN, which is when you have a genocide that is so aggressively clear, like this is the most clear-cut instance of genocide perhaps in decades. And when you have something so clear, is the World Court able to stand up? Is international law able to stand up? Is the U.S. able to actually call it what it is? And not only is Israel, of course, not stopping this endless reign of ethnic cleansing, but you have the U.S. proving that we are completely ethically and morally bankrupt. The U.S. government is, that is. To fight back and stand up against this when it's one of our allies, when it's one of our puppet states. I mean, this is absolutely a U.S.-backed genocide. Biden and the Biden administration ship weapons to Israel every 36 hours to be rained down on these children. And this is the most clear-cut case of genocide that the world has seen in years. And I say that as a Jewish person. And, if I need to remind everybody, there are millions of anti-Zionist Jews. Nice. Zionism does not equate to Judaism. And Israel has weaponized that to make you think you can't criticize Israel without criticizing all Jews, which is absolutely not true.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on, I've been talking a lot about the mass genocidal psychosis that we're seeing in the society. We're seeing a lot of pushback to this, but there's this very strong era of fascism that the West is openly embracing. And in order for fascism to take root, you need capitalist corroboration. You need corroboration of capital. And that's what we're seeing right now. You need a giant police force, a giant police state that also enforces and crack down on any dissent by any decisions made by the state. But not only do you have that, you have paramilitaries that is funded by the capitalist class. So you have the capitalists who corroborate with the government. You have the merging between corporation and the actions of the government to crack down on dissent. This is fascism, my friends. Now I want to get your general thoughts, because I'm seeing this where you have these literally the new Pinkertons. They're being funded by Zionist capitalists. And they are assaulting anti-genocide protesters while the police does nothing in return. They will be assaulted by pipes. So I want to get your general thoughts about the crackdown on the protests and this new era of fascism, if you want to take it from there, Lee.
Yeah, the cops stood by and allowed the far right-wing Zionists to attack peaceful protesters who are protesting against a genocide. They allowed that to happen. But then on top of that, the police are also the ones perpetrating a lot of the abuse and arrest. And, you mentioned that this is fascism. And I think it's moments like this that people should realize what the U.S. police force, one of the largest police forces in the world, one of the largest armies in the world, we are the largest prison state in the world. I think it's times like this that people should realize one of the prime purposes of U.S. police is not all the dicking around that they do most of the time. It's not the speeding tickets and you did a rolling stop at the stop sign. The real reason they're there, or one of the main reasons, is for moments like this, when the ruling elite need to shut down dissent, shut down protest. They have a soldier on every block ready to go. And we saw this with Black Lives Matter. We saw it with Occupy. Anytime these protests get above a slight bubbling, then the fist of the fascist state is sent in to put everything back to how it was, to put the class structure back in place without the people being able to stand up, to fight back, to have their freedom of speech. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And hopefully for people that are kind of uninitiated in all of this, hopefully they're seeing that that's what this police force, this, state army is used for.
Yeah, and guys, I am very careful with the words I use. I define my words when I use it. I was very critical of the liberal wing, the very extreme liberal wing, and the Bernie left, who called anyone who was a Trump supporter a fascist. Because I was like, bro, you guys are dumbing down what a fascist means. You guys see how I'm defining it as close as I can? Because I truly do not like using this term without defining it. We are seeing the class corroboration with this state cracking down on dissent. We are seeing capitalist retaliation. We're seeing people like Bill Ackman. We are seeing the other dickhead, I'm blank on his name right now, who said that he's going to wage lawfare against students protesting. So in order to have fascism, you must have capitalist corroboration. That's extremely important. And also another tenet in fascism is the merging of corporations and state. And this is my thought process when I seen this video, Lee, because when I see these companies support Israel, they are forcing American workers to give their labor to Israel. You have government officials that are forced to sign pledges that they won't boycott Israel, robbing them of their free speech. And this is my interpretation, but I think is accurate. This is all of these things coming together is why I'm saying we're living in this era of fascism. I'm not using that term lightly. So what I'm gonna do, Lee, I think it was a great video. I'm gonna play maybe the first 2 minutes or so, and then I'll pass it to you because this is a great video. So I'll play it, and I want to get your response.
All the war crimes and atrocities and being committed by Israel right now, that corporations would not want their brand names slapped on top of the rubble that was once a school or a medical clinic. But in fact, many companies don't seem to care. Here are the top 11 corporations deepest in bed with Israel. Can you be deep in bed? Let's start with weapons contractors, since they're the most villainous.
It's warlord.
The stocks of the big war profiteers have shot up since Israel's attack on Gaza began. Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, and BAE Systems have gained more than $30 billion in value over just the past few weeks. You know what they say? Every time Israel blows up a hospital, a Lockheed investor gets his wings, meaning a private jet. Much of the billions the U.S. sends to Israel ends up in the pockets of these weapons contractors. So your tax dollars go directly to them, and they're not even ashamed of it. Lockheed Martin says it's proud of the significant role it has fulfilled in the security of the state of Israel. Of course, let's not forget Raytheon, which provides missiles for Israel's Iron Dome defense system.
It's kind of been a personal mission to, keep pushing and not let the naysayer say I can't.
Among other things. And smaller war profiteers like Woodward, which we know provides bombs to rain down on Gazans because they still have the label on them. At least.
I think that's a good starting point. Make sure you guys check out this whole video. It's really well done. I'll pass to you so you can finish your thought or add any other commentary. Well done, Lee.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. It's a new short form project I'm doing with Breakthrough News. Short 8-minute videos with a lot of comedy in there as well, as you noticed. But this one, which people seem to really appreciate, it listed kind of the biggest companies involved in making millions and billions of dollars from Israel or in cooperation with Israel. And, it tells you who to boycott for one thing. But on top of that, you're right that U.S. labor, U.S. American effort, American time, American money is going into to prop up and facilitate this genocidal apartheid state. And of course, it's been that way for years and years. But the full frontal genocide has really ramped up in the past 225 days. But yeah, I go through some of obviously the weapons contractors, but then I go through a lot of the ones that people aren't necessarily as well aware of, such as McDonald's and Starbucks and others.
Yeah, like we are in a great era of awakening in a way where people are seeing how much Zionism has affected our society. Like they got their claws on everything in our media, in our corporations. You have AIPAC that openly bragging about it. Like we 40 for 40 this election. Why you guys talking about Russia?
You're absolutely right. AIPAC openly brags about how they basically manipulate successfully almost every single congressional race they get involved in. I think their record is like 98% or something. And of course, that doesn't just speak about AIPAC. It also speaks about how bought off our election system is, where you have the people that spend the most on the election win 90% of the time in the House and 80 something in the Senate. So this is just a completely bought off system in every way. And AIPAC is bragging and of course they, hilariously, foreign media outlets have been forced to register as foreign agents when the whole Foreign Agent Registry Act was really meant to force outside lobbyists for other countries to register as foreign agents, and AIPAC never has.
Make it make sense. And then look, like, there's a lot of focus on AIPAC, but what I always like to remind you guys is a very interesting thing you could do is go to the top 10 donors in the U.S. elections. Like George Soros gave $128 million in 2022. Guess what ideology he supports? He is Zionist. Yeah. And then if you go to donor number 2, he's a Zionist. Donor number 3 is a Zionist. So you have AIPAC, and then everyone who funds the elections are Zionists. Go ahead, Lee.
Well, I was going to say, and if you go to Open Secrets, where you can find out who's funding your politicians, who's buying your politicians, and you look at the top funders, and I'm not talking people, but I'm talking organizations, companies, etc. You look at the top funders, a lot of them, Hakeem Jeffries, for example, like the top, 3 or 5 of the top 10 are all various Israel lobby groups. So it's not just AIPAC. It's others, I can't remember all the names, but NORPAC is one of them. Some is called, Jews for Democrats or whatever. But most of them have names that you don't even know what it is. And then you Google it and you go, oh, it's another Israel lobby.
Yeah, it's literally insane how much they infiltrated our government. Now, people, and then you have people like Fetterman that pretend that, oh, the college kids, they are extreme terrorist sympathizers. Like, no, according to polls, I did a hotspot video about this. That blew my mind. I saw 58% of evangelical white voters wanting a ceasefire in Gaza. Like, these are the people who are called extremes. Like, if you lose the evangelicals, you know how far gone you are? The politicians are making the decisions they make only because they are bought off by the AIPAC lobby. And it was brilliant. Like, propaganda on their behalf for them to like create this thing out of nowhere. If you to mention this, you're an anti-Semite. They would say, "Oh, what are you saying? You're saying that Jews run the world?" No, we're saying Zionists do, because one of the reasons why Zionism is the height of anti-Semitism is because Zionism robs the First Amendment rights and created authoritarian culture for peace-loving Jewish people. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this. Go ahead. Feel free to interrupt anytime, Lee. Go ahead.
Well, and it's something really important to know or to remember, that there are more Christian Zionists, and Biden proudly says he's a Zionist, more Christian Zionists in America than there are Jews in the world. So Zionism is more heavily propped up and facilitated. This settler colonial state apartheid regime is propped up and facilitated more by Christians and non-Jews than it is by Jews. And yet, if you criticize Israel, you're called anti-Semitic. It's all incredibly laughable. I mean, and then on top of that, if you want to throw in there, Palestinians are Semites. So saying it's anti-Semitic doesn't even make any sense. But
yeah, that's why when I gave my speech at KU with Jill Stein, I always mention this to people, because I always made the anti-colonial argument first. And then I just got to remind people how absurd this is, because you had Joe Biden, who gave a speech condemning the people protesting against his foreign policy and called them anti-Semitic. Now, what's really absurd about this is that a lot of people that are protesting were Jewish. So think about what just happened there. We had a Catholic who called peace-loving Jewish people anti-Semitic because they didn't support the Catholics sending weapons to fascist Jewish people so they can bomb Muslims and Christians in the Holy Land. Like, sometimes you got to spell out how ridiculous their narrative is. Now let's get to go ahead, Lee, if you want to chime in.
Well, just one final thing, which I always find hilarious. One of the big reasons that evangelical Zionists support the state of Israel is because in a very evangelical reading of the Bible, they believe that all the Jews need to be in the land of Israel in order for the end times to come, at which time all the Jews will burn in hell. So they're supporting Israel, quote unquote, to make me and my people burn in hell, which is, really just a lovely collaboration.
And I love how we can point out how absurd they are without being judgmental towards a religion. We were literally just saying what they believe. Yeah. I just outlined what happened there. There was no judgments there. That's why I always lean towards the anti-colonial arguments first. But then you also can just point out how absurd their general ideology is. The general ideology of the cuck behavior of Christian Zionism. Israel has free healthcare, my friends. Free education. So think about what the Christian Zionists believe. They believe their taxpayer money should be sent over there to God's chosen people to pay for healthcare they don't believe their own people deserve.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can move on. Because I want to get to this story. I have a hotspot video released on this later today. It's very interesting because this is the first Jewish appointee by the Biden administration that resigned, because we've seen mass revolt on Biden's policies on Gaza. Not only just the voters, Democrat voters, half of Democrat voters believe Israel's committing a genocide right now. Not only that, you have staffers that were forced to protest in mass because they didn't want to be retaliated against. Now you have the Jewish staffer, Lily Greenberg Hall, who resigned, and I'm putting respect on Lily's name. I'm just going to explain to you guys who she is. She was on the Biden-Harris campaign, worked on the Biden-Harris campaign, a diehard Democrat. When you read a little bit of her letter, kind of like, ugh. I still believe in Democrats, that kind of shit. So this is not like a radical anti-imperialist Palestinian that we're dealing with here. In her resignation letter, which is too long for me to read here, she explains how she has family members in the IDF. She explains how she has family members who was killed on October 7th, my friends. So we were talking about a diehard liberal Democrat Jew that is very harshly condemning the Biden administration for supporting genocide. Lee, do you see this story? And what your general reaction to this? Well, I would say is a never seen revolt against the Democrat Party on the foreign policy. You want to take that on, Lee?
Yeah, I've been on my live stream. I've been covering this kind of ongoing mutiny within the State Department's been one of the big areas, but also within the White House. Staffers, I mean, many of them are just putting forward letters saying, that you need to cut off weapons. This is a genocide, it's ethnic cleansing. But there are many who are leaving their positions, leaving their careers, willing to threaten their careers, because who knows if they're trying to get similar positions in the future, they may not be hired because they stepped down. And yet they're willing to put all that on the line to say, this is a genocide, and I'm not willing to support it. And I think the point you made is one of the most important ones. This is not none of them that I've seen have been far left, anti-Zionist, revolutionary, radical crusaders. These are people who have been in the State Department, been in the White House, been in the government, and have believed in it, believed in the U.S. empire, supported it throughout years and years of their lives, didn't see anything wrong with, Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria and everything else we've done. But right now is a red line because they are seeing that right now is a genocide at a level that is just unfathomable. I mean, and this genocide is being live streamed, unlike genocides in the past. And it really is a significant point that these are people that believed in the system and they're stepping down.
Yeah. And what's interesting when I saw this, I didn't include this in the hotspot video, and I'm gonna tell you why it's here soon, but I think it's still very interesting. I still think it's very noteworthy. Where you have Lily Greenberg Hall, who resigned and been made public. She then put out a statement, and her Twitter account was instantly banned by Elon Musk. Now, there was a lot of funk made. I made a funk about this. My friend says a hotspot. Pretty much all the big accounts did, and they was forced to reinstate her account. That's why I ultimately let it out of the hotspot video. But what does it say? Like, you had this immediate banning, and we are seeing with the banning of Clint Clarenberg as well, a friend of RBN. We're seeing Elon and Twitter and like it's game time. Like all the big players got the message from Israel. Like, it's game time now. You got to follow our direction, but the audacity of them banning her in such a malicious way. And you guys see, they got so much pushback, they reinstated her.
Well, and you can't know whether it was Elon Musk personally who did it, but
Yeah, to be fair.
it was very odd where Elon Musk, I can't remember what he said, some criticism of Israel, and then he was brought on the Israel propaganda tour where they took him around, they showed him with Netanyahu by his side, and who knows what they said to him. I mean, God knows what was said behind closed doors, but all of a sudden Elon has a come to Moses moment. And he suddenly is all for the genocide and, posts just insane things supporting this ongoing ethnic cleansing.
Yeah. And we have another 5 minutes. I know you got a pretty busy day. And we also have another banger for you guys. You guys know Savvy, the Savvy and JB show is later today on Thursday. Another thing I want to ask you about, another 2 quick things. We got 2 quick stories because something I've been reading a lot about, and I want to get your thoughts on this because I'm curious. I was just talking to Sarah about this. I was talking to Nico, Misty about this. De-dollarization is happening, and it's happening really fast. And when you look at the policies of the West, it's almost, I don't believe this is true because I don't think the capitalist class is trying to tank their wealth on purpose. But you almost like if you wanted to tank the dollar, you would do everything that the West has done. I'd say like this. And this is a stat that blew my mind. I think a lot of people don't know about it, that the United States currently sanctions 1/3 of the world's population.
Wow.
And people still think we're the good guys. Look, the U.S. war on defense list. Sanctions harm 1/3 of the world's people. and people have no idea what sanctions mean. They were like, oh, we put sanctions on this country. Liberals think that they don't think twice about it. Sanctions is economic war.
Yeah.
And this is what gonna, and I'll pass it to you, Lee. I want to get your thoughts on de-dollarization and all this. But you want to know what's going to accelerate this? You already had the Biden policy of putting sanctions on Russia, which woken a lot of these countries up because they realized that the United States can punish them if they don't agree with their foreign policy. And then, which I think Trump is going to win this election, you already had Trump that's saying the most craziest shit I've seen. That when he take office, he's going to destroy the dollar. Look at this one. And I'll pass to you, Lee, for your general thoughts. Trump plans to sanction countries for refusing to use the dollar. So guess what that's going to do? That's going to motivate countries to de-dollarize more. But go ahead, Lee. You have any general thoughts about the trend that's going on?
Yeah, I'm glad you call it economic war because sanctions sounds too light and people do die. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, die from economic war, the economic war the U.S. is doing. The U.S. has sanctions on 30-some countries. I believe it still is. And the closest second country is, I don't know which one, but has sanctions on like 5 or something. So the U.S. is the leader by far in economic war. But in terms of what you're talking about, de-dollarization, I'm glad you bring that up. It is a point that I keep bringing up because on my live streams, because it is at the heart of just about every behavior the U.S. does. It's at the heart of why the U.S. is so supportive of the Israeli settler colonial system. It's at the heart of the Ukrainian proxy war. It's at the heart of our ongoing Cold War with China. All of these things come down to the fact, and I'll try and sum it up in 3 sentences. I'm sure you've talked about it many times, but that the U.S. dollar, the reason the U.S., unlike just about any other country, can print as much money as we want. I mean, it's not really printed, but make up as much money as we want, and it doesn't lose most of its value, unlike other countries, is for 2 reasons. It's the global reserve currency, the U.S. dollar, and it's the petrodollar. But the 2 reasons are linked because the moment fossil fuels stop being sold and bought in U.S. dollars, then it will no longer be the global reserve currency. So basically, the U.S. has an existential motivation to fight for fossil fuel use and to fight against any country who is selling and buying oil outside of the U.S. dollar. And that is the existential reason that we're going after China and Russia. It's the reason we upended and destroyed the societies of Syria, of Iraq, of Afghanistan with pipelines, etc. And at every turn, you can really, Venezuela, of course, has one of the largest oil reserves in the world. That explains our extreme hatred of them. And it's just at the heart of everything. And of course, BRICS is very important too, but I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, and BRICS is making it clear that that's their goal. They have a big summit. I want to say August. I'm blank on the month, but they have a summit later this year where they may discuss adding new members. I know Nigeria, and a few other countries are looking to join. But the main objective of this summit is the discussion of de-dollarization. Like that's their primary objective right now. You have a new trade agreement signed with Russia and China where they're gonna exchange only using their currency, the yuan and the ruble. And you guys see here, de-dollarization. BRICS is getting ready to give the dollar a run for its money. And now we're seeing Western officials once again being smacked in their mouth for comments they made in the past, because when BRICS was formed, they was laughed at by the West. And now everything that BRICS does and this whole concept, the way you put it is perfect. Every foreign policy move they're making is based on this, a concept that they laughed about just 15 years ago or so. Now, one more.
BRICS is very important.
Anything you want to add before you move on real quick? Anything else you want to add, Lee Camp?
Oh, just that for those who don't know much about BRICS, it's this alignment, cooperation between governments, and it started out as just those five: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, I think. But now it's many other countries have joined in. Even Saudi Arabia wanted to be connected to BRICS, which our alignment with Saudi Arabia is the entirety of the petrodollar system. So if Saudi Arabia leaves the petrodollar system, then the U.S. is done. The U.S. dollar is done. But yeah, BRICS is very important, and and it's also the reason we coup so many countries around the world, or facilitate coups, or color revolutions. It's the reason we helped put Bolsonaro into power with the lawfare against Lula, and to get Brazil out of BRICS. Argentina, which we successfully used lawfare to put in a right-wing lunatic who's there now. They've dropped out of BRICS, which before President Milei, they were joining BRICS. So you just see this again and again. The U.S. facilitates coups, invasions. The invasions are really reserved for, the worst of the worst, where we're really afraid they're going to have a lot of oil and sell it in something other than dollars, like Libya and Gaddafi were about to. But the coups and the lawfare coups are more prominent these days.
Yeah. One last quick rapid fire question I have for you is regarding this new drive for third parties in the abandon Biden movement. Now, you guys know I hate celebrity culture. I don't cover celebrity culture. But I'm gonna tell you what Cardi B said. Someone who's extremely popular. Cardi B tells Rolling Stone that she will not be voting in this year's upcoming presidential election. I don't fuck with both of y'all. Base Cardi B. Cardi B is more based than you guys think on politics. I heard her saying some stuff like, damn, what? Cardi said that? But the reason I'm saying it is because I don't really care about celebrity state, but this is the message being spread to young people. We're saying the abandon Biden movement. I seen a poll where Jill Stein is at 4%. You guys know third parties only need 5% to hit federal funding. And now there's this debate, because I'm going to wrap this question all up in one here. This bullshit debate between Biden and Trump. And one of the things that they said must happen for this debate to happen is RFK Jr. must be banned from the stage. And we all know RFK Jr. is also the person who refused to debate Dr. Jill Stein. So my last question for you, Lee, I want to get your overall thoughts about, and it's mostly tied to Biden genocide in Gaza. They can make up a lot of the bullshit, but this is why we are seeing the mass exodus. So I want to get your thoughts on that and the potential rise of a third parties, and you got your thoughts on that in general.
I mean, this system. So yeah, the two parties are one party. They agree on 90% of the structural issues of this country and foreign policy. And so Democrats and Republicans are essentially one party. And they absolutely do not want a third party. They are more scared of a third party than they are of either Trump, or I'm talking about the ruling elite, either Trump or Biden getting into office. And unfortunately, RFK Jr. is also pro-genocide as well. So, but he did recently say that a parasite ate part of his brain. So maybe it was the part that that tells him to be against genocides. Anyway, so they don't want anyone else on that debate stage. They have worked for years to make sure that a Jesse Ventura situation does not happen to them, where Jesse Ventura, as a third-party candidate, won the governor of Minnesota essentially completely because of his performance on the debate stage. And of course, Ross Perot back in the 90s, he didn't win, but he changed the result of the election. And so they have worked every day to make sure there is no third party. Jill Stein notoriously was arrested for trying to attend the 2012 debate as she was running for president. She was arrested and chained to a chair in a basement of a police station until the debate was over. So that's this free democracy we have in this country. It's completely laughable. There are good candidates running. I've interviewed on my live stream, as have you, Cornel West, Jill Stein, and Claudia De La Cruz. I also am the campaign manager for a rock I found in my yard who's running for president. And trust me, he is more cogent than Biden or Trump.
There are none but good things about him.
He has a website, yardrock2024.com. Check him out. But yeah, no, they absolutely do not want anything outside the two-party capitalist system. That is more threatening to them than just about anything else.
Always great to have you on, Lee. Always fun as well. Where can they find you?
Yeah, all my stuff is at linktree.com/Lee Camp. But if you're just looking on YouTube for my show, or you can probably look up my name, but also Dangerous Ideas is the name of the show. But yeah, you look up Lee Camp and you should find it pretty easily.
Yeah, well said. Thank you for coming on, Lee. We're not done for today, guys. We also have another banger in the store for you guys. Thank you. Big shout out to our homie JB for helping us produce. But you guys know he's gonna be on live stream later today with the Sabby and JB show. That's 5:30 p.m. Eastern, right? James, do you want to come on and promote your damn show real quick? Promote your damn show real quick.
I'm looking kind of busted right now. That's one of the reasons why I was just trying to stay off of camera, because I'm not looking as good as you, Chocolate Thunder. So
you stop.
But yeah, so just to let you guys know, yes, we will be on for 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yes, you guys can come on to the Sappy and JB show here on RBN. We're actually going to be talking. Actually, the stream is already up. If you would like to, we can actually share that screen really quick, so that you guys can see.
I think I see it. Here it is. This is it.
Yeah.
Let me take this down. Here's the. I think this is the stream right here, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll be live then for that. So it's going to be a fun conversation. We're going to be talking. We're going to be placing it back. As far as we're going to be placing it back onto the class issue on what's going on, especially with the genocides that are going on. And there are multiple genocides. It's not just one. It's everybody. A lot of us are talking about what's going on in Gaza. Of course, Rafah, Ramallah, Jenin, and the West Bank. Those are genocides that are going on. But we also want to center it back on what's going on in Sudan and Congo, Haiti. These are also ones that I think that also needs attention. And then also, really, if you want to think about it, what's going on with us here at home, domestically, because this can also be turned into something that we can, leverage for our domestic welfare as well. So me and Sabi are going to have a great conversation about this, and it's going to be really about what's going on, the Block 2024 trend that's going on and TikTok and as well as Instagram, and it's actually proving to have some developments. So we're going to be talking about it.
Yeah, you guys see how powerful we are in a new era. I actually pulled off a 1-hour episode because I already knew we got a lot of content for later today, and I'm also going to be live tomorrow as well. Same time, we're going to have James Rewald on. He's a great viral TikToker. Gonna be first time I'm meeting him and talking to him, so it should be interesting. So we got banger after banger. And on Saturday, I have this educator that was fired from their job in Zionist retaliation. I told you guys, banger after banger. So this was a shorter episode, but I will be back tomorrow on Saturday. So Enjoy the Sabi and JB show later. Peace out, my friends.